Alright fellas, welcome back to the channel. Today we're testing out the Tarpstar, the Alpkit Tarpstar. So, we're doing it in the dark, we're pitching it up. Obviously I think it's important to be able to pitch a tent easily in the dark, so that's why we're testing it out. See if you can do it quickly and easily. We're going to be sleeping in it, it's going to be getting down near 3-4 degrees tonight, so it'll be quite a decent test for the tent. Maybe some decent winds, and even a very small chance of rain. So let's get this pitched. So you're going to need yourself a basic trekking pole to pitch this. So you want to find the center of your tent, which is right here, and then peg it out. So once you've got your back end pegged out, you just want to get your trekking pole in there. You want to erect it in the shape that you want and get that nice and firm. I think that should do quite nicely. Then again, you just want to get your pegs and peg out the other end. So yeah, you've got quite the large inner tent there. So then we've got our actual inner that we have to clip. Don't know if you can. So you've got pegs in each corner. You can't really see all the way to the back, but you've got these bungees on the end of the tent, which just clip to those pegs, and that will allow us to pitch up the inner. For instance, I think I can show you this one. This is the one corner. You're simply going to clip that around. I think what we have to do is pull it back out and then through like that. And then you're going to do the same with the other corner and the other and the other. Same story down here. Just clip your tent in to it, just like that. And again on that corner there, just like so. Then you just attach it up at the top there, and you've got your tent. Alright, it's time to get in the tent. I mean, you can look on the ground. This is soaking wet, so it's a good test for the tent in a way. So we're gonna get our sleeping bag and stuff in there, and we're also gonna have probably a quick review of the tent as well. All these Alpkit tents, they're made with nylon, I think. I'm fairly sure. But you know, you feel the tent, right? And it's almost like it's sort of dry, but it's damp, you know? But let's get inside the actual tent. You can see there's plenty of space in the inner compartment, so we're going to get the mat in. Thermarest Neo Air X Lite in the tent, and we'll also get our sleeping bag in there. Thermarest Questar. So it's time to get in there before all the bugs get in. Alright, we're in the tent. Get it all zipped down now. So once we're inside, we've got this huge porch. So you can cook, you can do everything you need to do, plenty of storage space in this cooking area. So let's get ourselves zipped into the main tent, shall we? Alright, we're inside. It really is not big in here. You got just about enough space for your mat, and you got a decent amount of headroom. That's the one thing I'll give it. It's got good headroom next to the door, but it gets very tight on this side. And the one thing I'm worried about is, like, you can, I don't know if you can see, but there's water on the outer. Well, the outer is damp, and if this inner is pressing against that, then the inner might get wet, and the last thing you want is a wet inner. So I mean, we'll see how that goes throughout the night. See how it is in the morning anyway. You've got decent, in all fairness, you've got plenty of room to like the sides, right? But it is just very, it's basically a slightly enlarged bivvy inside this bit. It works, but it only works as a sleeping area. You wouldn't want to be in this. Firstly, you wouldn't want to be in the rain, and you certainly wouldn't want to be. Yeah, so it functions quite nicely, right? But this entire inner panel is mesh. And mesh panels, they just won't do well in the cold, right? Because this is all, and the top doesn't come down very low either. So tons of air is going to be piling in from under the bottom, and this isn't going to keep any of it out. So in winter, it really isn't going to be very good, and it's pretty cold tonight. So obviously we'll see how that goes. We'll tune in a bit later once we're all set up and settled down. Alright, I've fully tuned in our sleeping bag. We're basically ready to sleep. So what are my thoughts now that I'm in my sleeping bag? It's gonna do perfectly fine as a sleeping area, and in the morning what we'll do is we'll test out the stove. Right, that's what we'll do in the morning. We'll see if the stove, if we can cook in here, you know, because one of the things you want to be able to do is if it's raining, you want to be able to come into your tent and you want to be able to cook from your tent. Now then, if your porch or vestibule is not particularly big, or your tent isn't well ventilated, that's not going to be that easy because of the whole poisoning that comes from the gas, right? And it's the silent killer for a reason. So in the morning, we're going to test that out. Personally, I feel like it's going to go quite well. You know, it's a massive porch area out there, like you saw. So I don't think we're going to have any trouble with that. But as of right now, I'm going to try and get some sleep. Unless we get some wind or rain in the night, or if the tent, if the inner gets absolutely soaking for whatever reason, I'll see you in the morning. Good morning. Had quite the night. Slept pretty well. So let's analyze what's been going on. There's, yeah, the inner hasn't really gotten wet, even though the outer is pretty wet. So, but you know, you sleeping bag. Let's a little damp at the bottom, but that basically happens regardless of what you do. Honestly, can't complain. Yeah, it's a little tight, but hey, you do what you can. I think there's enough room in the tent to have a nice night's sleep. And I'll be looking forward to using this one out on the hill. I think we can be pretty sure that it'll work quite nicely, and we'll be able to sleep. So next up we'll do the stove test. So obviously now with a little bit of daylight you can see a bit better what the space is like. So as I said, we're going to test out the stove, see what it's like to cook in here. Just quickly, the wind has picked up a little bit. It's holding its own quite nicely. So we've got our stool in here, so that's our first thing. You can actually sit up in this tent on a stool. Now that's quite nice. Now then we've got all our stove kit here, so let's get that set up. So you got yourself a nice flat patch there. So then we're just going to attach that. To our gas canister. Honestly, you probably want some sort of table or something just to make this a bit easier. Okay, there you go. Again, you want to keep this well ventilated if you're going to do this. You know, as you can see, plenty of space in here, and you got plenty of ventilation. You know, the bottom of this tent is quite high, so you're pretty much safe doing this. You know, this is boiling pretty fast actually, so yeah. I would have no trouble boiling my water, or even cooking a meal while out on the hill with this stove. There you go, water boiled, tea made. So let's head on out of this tent and see what it looks like from the outside. First thing I notice, this peg here, it needs to be pulled out more. Like while I was cooking there, that was flapping a little bit too much for my liking. But as you can see, it takes up quite a large footprint. But, you know, it's taken quite a bit of wind and it's done quite well. So, all in all, the Tarpstar pretty easily passes the test. It will do you in reasonably bad weather. I mean, it was pretty cold, it's moderately windy right now, and you can cook inside of there, no problem. You can pitch it in the dark, reasonably easy. Pitching process wasn't hard at all. So, overall, I'm going to give the Tarpstar an 8 out of 10. Tune in next week to see us test out our next tent.